There are a lot of salary negotiation mistakes that I see people make. And when I say there are a lot of salary negotiation mistakes I see people make, I want you to know as an executive recruiter, so Mile Walk Inc., Andy, executive recruiter guy, negotiated over 600 salary negotiations, contracts, employment agreements, and anything that you would ever encounter. So over 600 of those, I literally had to deal with my clients, my job candidate to negotiate that stuff. As part of the Mile Walk Academy, in coaching people, there's probably been conservatively about another 750 that I've done over the 9 years that I've been coaching in this capacity, where people would come to me not as a recruiter, but as a career coach and have me help them. That's well over 1,000 data points. And to see the tactics that work, the trial, the error, the how frequently certain things happen. I've channeled a lot of that into the salary negotiation workshop, which is in my premium library. But what we're going to talk about today are the mechanics for you to actually talk through and engage in those encounters. But before we get into that portion of the teaching, there are 5 things that I want you to know. I did not cover this in the teaching package you're going to see today, but I think it is, I thought it was a great, these are great concepts and tactics, or at least a philosophy to understand to kick us off, because what happens is salary negotiation and victory related to salary negotiation is not a transactional event. Okay, you do not win a salary negotiation. Okay, what you do is from the time you send a cover letter and a resume, or apply online, if that's the route you go, or boss hunt, or whatever, from that moment, and everything you do, and everything you say, and everything you don't do, and everything you don't say, from that moment till the time you make a counter offer to that employer's offer, that's the negotiation. Okay, so it is not a one-time transaction. I do not make a transactional sale with you. Any of you that have jumped in the job search coaching program, you didn't just look at my face, have a 30-second conversation with me and pay $1,000, did you? No. You probably watched me for hours and hours and days and weeks and months and who knows how long, right? Are y'all tracking on this? That there is a all the time engagement as part of the interviewing process. Okay, so that's the first thing you got to understand. The second thing you got to understand is when you get into the interviewing process, I don't mean this in a mean way, absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. You know less than nothing, because at least if you knew nothing, that'd be something, but most people don't. So I want you to realize that when you go into an interviewing process, I don't care what you are currently earning. I don't care what you're used to getting paid. I don't care what your friends are getting paid. I don't care what you're reading on Glassdoor. All of that is irrelevant. You know this house I'm sitting in right now? There's a listing somewhere on a dozen real estate sites that say this house is worth, boom, some amount of money. To which I would say that is absolutely ridiculous. This house isn't worth anything. It's not worth what I paid. It's not worth all the money I've put in to fix it up, to paint it, repaint it, the new furnaces, the new kitchen, the new everything I threw into this, and everything that goes along with it, and all the emotions that are attached to it, because I live in it every day, I work out of it, I teach you through it, I play with my dogs, and all of that. And so internally, I have some idea in my head of what I want to sell the house for, which is ridiculous. Because this house is only worth what somebody is willing to pay on the day they buy it, based on what? Based on their needs, based on their requirements, based on how badly they want to live in this house, based on how badly they want to send their kids to the schools in this district, or the look over the lake in the back, or what are the neighbors like, or who knows? Who knows? Right? So all of that is what determines this house's worth. Your worth is determined by somebody else, because what is it that you are worth to them at this moment, on this day, based on all the stuff going on with me. And I've told you in the past that many of you probably haven't heard this story, but I'm going to give you the 20-second version of a 10-minute story. But we once recruited for a client who was just looking for an architect. And the head of HR called me and she said, "We need your help." And I took the search, and the first thing I asked her was, do you have clients who need this person, and what are you losing every single day because you don't have this consultant to send out who would earn you thousands of dollars a day? Right. And she said, "We've been looking for 6 months, and a half a year, and you would bill this person out for $600,000 a year if the person was fully engaged. Do you think that they care if they have to pay an extra $50,000 to get that person? They are in such pain that they would pay anything. So is that architect worth the extra 50, actually extra 75 that they paid? To them, yes. Would you know that? No. So I want you to know that an empty mind, an open mind going into the interviewing process that is all about the art of the possible, knowing what the variables that are in play and going to influence what that person or that company is going to pay for you. Okay, I'm going to tell you what those are. And I just want you to understand this as you go into the teaching portion today when I start scripting things out for you. There are 5 things that are always at play, none of which you know, and all of which you can change. All right? The employer has goals. The employer has problems. The employer has a solution in their mind of what it's going to take in order to overcome these problems to achieve these goals. They have a profile of the person in mind, like a job description maybe that says 7 years of this or that, right? And an estimated cost of what they think that person cost. You guys tracking? Okay, we got 5, right? Now, we've talked all week. I watched all the replays, and I know I said this no less than a dozen times. What are we always focused on? The employer's goals. I'm going for the marketing job. Okay, I know I'm going to go for the marketing job at the Mile Walk Academy because Andy looks like, based on his social media and all his crazy videos, that he needs some help. Because Andy doesn't know what he's doing. Damn right, I don't know anything. But what I do know is I always want more leads. So I'm going to go and I'm going to hire one of you. You're going to be my marketing person. Okay, those are my goals. What are Andy's goals? Andy wants more leads. Right. I'm going to go and I want to hire a marketing person. I want that marketing person to do what? There's a bunch of stuff that he or she's going to do. And what do I want? I want more and more people subscribing to Andy's newsletter. That's all the marketing person needs to do for me. Get them on my newsletter because it's up to Andy to build a relationship with them. Andy's a sales guy. Okay. Now, I have goals. I have problems in achieving those because if I knew how to run ads effectively, I probably could have more people. But I don't want to just run ads. I want to run ads that actually get the kind of people that I actually want to engage with who might want to buy my premium services, right? That's the best. Because if I'm going to spend money for people to find me, I want to make sure that hopefully I can turn them into customers. Okay, I have a solution. What does that solution look like? Should I cut more videos? Should I make a video and have the other person cut the videos? Maybe the person can cut the videos. Does the person know how to write social media copy? Can the person write any catchy copy? I don't know. Is the copy going to grab more attention? Do they know, is that going to work? Do they know how to set up a dashboard? Can they give me the analytics, right? All of those things are part of what Andy in his head thinks is the solution. Now, my goal would be, can you get me an extra, let's just, 130 people a day. Can you get me around an extra 1,000 people a week? Kind of thing. Maybe that's a goal. You follow me? Well, now what happens if you come in and I say, hey, I think anybody with a year of marketing experience should be able to do that. Or maybe it's 3 years. And I'm going to pay $50,000 a year for that person, right? That's in my head. Then you come in. You say, Andy, you need marketing help. What would be the greatest outcome for you related to your marketing? What would success, Andy, what would your success look like in a year for having me, right? What would we accomplish together? What exactly would that look like? It would look like 1,000 leads a week. It would look like 1,000 leads a week, and then maybe instead of 30 of them converting, we want 50 of them to convert or 60 of them to convert, and I'd call that successful. And I've got problems because I don't know how to do this. And I'm going to tell you, here's what I think it's going to take, and we're going to discuss this because my silly job description is going to say, this is what I think the solution is because this is what you're responsible for. And then you're going to say, Andy, that's ridiculous. 130 leads. I could get you 1,000 leads a day. My goal just changed. Okay, Andy, no, those aren't your problems. Your problems are really this, and they're even worse than you think. And I know that because I worked for that influencer over there, and this was her problem. And we ran into this. Does that sound like you, Andy? Right, except here's how we fixed it. It was very complicated. It was worse than you think. Now you're looking even better. Andy, that solution you think it's going to take, you don't need to do that. That's a waste of time. I can do that at half the cost, at twice the pace. Do you see me? My cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching is going up. If you're going to get me 10 times what I thought I could get or was hoping for, don't you think I'd be willing to pay more for that? Right, maybe the profile isn't somebody with 3 years. I really need somebody with 1 year who knows this, or 5 years who knows this. You could change that in my mind. And Andy, I don't cost $50,000. I cost $75,000 because I'm going to show you why if you can tell me what your average lifetime value of a customer is, and I can increase you 30 customers a day at $1,000 a day, what is that worth to you? Is it not worth an extra $50,000 for me? Do you see that you have the entire interviewing process to change this? Can I get a show of hands? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know how variable these are? I want a show of hands. I want some kind of acknowledgement. Does this register that, and just think, even if you were not able to change these kinds of things in your previous interviews, is this not what is at play 100% of the time? Right? And so to which I would say all those pink hands, if this is the case, why the hell would anybody ever give an expected salary? I don't know what you want me to do, Andy. I don't know how screwed you are. I don't know what you think the solution is, but I could tell you what it is, but you got to tell me what the problems are and what your goals are. Then I'll tell you what the solution is. Then I'll tell you what I cost. Right? So when somebody says to me, well, Andy, the salary is $50,000 and I make $60,000 already, should I go? Yes. The salary's $100,000, I make $50,000, should I go? Yes. Right? So you have to understand all of this. There is an entire session in the salary workshop on nothing but how to move these things. Okay? Because this is salary negotiation. This is, Andy, what do you want to happen? You want 130. I could get you 1,000. If you give me a budget of $50, right? Kind of thing. So the reason somebody's asking, Ann Shields, how are you? Why is this so hard to do in real life? I'll tell you why it's hard. Because you think you got to live in the world that's given to you. I mean that. You see a job description says pays $100,000, as if that's a reality or if it's cemented. No. And then the recruiter, who has absolutely no power at all, but other than to say no, and I'm not moving you forward, you're worried that, well, I don't want to interview for a job that only pays 80 when I make 100. How do you know the job pays 80? Because it says so on the job description? That's nonsense. Right? I have story after story that I'm not even going to bore you with right now, because I want to get into the hour package of the teaching. But all of this is just a function of you getting in the game, getting in the interview, and relaxing and knowing I've got the whole stretch to prove it. So think long term, meaning think long term of the interview process. Your short term moves are going to be constantly focused on these 5 things. Okay, you don't need to fight about this, and you won't need to fight about that if you're hyper focused on these 3 up here. Because these 2 will naturally fall out, and then this you'll fight about at the end. But you ain't going to have to do much fighting because you already laid the groundwork. You already built the strategy. You already put the blueprint in place. I give you the template of what you need to show the employer at the end of the day to make this argument that this is what we're going to do. This is what we're shooting for. Here's what we're going to focus on in the sequence we're going to do that. Here's what I'm going to produce. Here's what it's going to mean for you in terms of dollars, cents, political capital, influence, brand, whatever you can tangibly or intangibly cite. Possibilities. And what does this do? Last point before I turn the teaching loose. What does this do? Right now, all of you that are not members of my job search coaching program, what are you looking at? $997. I want you looking at the tens of thousands of dollars that you're going to make when you pay that $1,000. And it only takes you, like I said, if you earn 50 grand, it takes you a week, right? Your mind's on the cost. My job, if I want you in my program, or to at least illustrate a perspective for you, is on the value it's going to accelerate the amount of time. You're going to interview better. You're going to score better at the end, right? You need to do that with the employers. I give you what we call the salary grid to put together to do that, to facilitate it, because you're not experienced at that. But what we need to do is we need you to get the employer's eyes off your cost, because you are not a cost to an employer, right? You are the lifeblood. You are an investment for that employer, because an employer should be making 10 times your salary on you. That's what you need to focus them in on. Okay? So I need this to register because this sets the foundation for everything we're about to go in. And if this is clipped out and you're watching just this portion of the show or of the video, you're going to see these are the 5 things you want to focus on. And you want to remember these are always at play. So don't eject yourself from the process prematurely because you don't know what these are in the beginning of the process. Okay? All right, I hope you enjoyed that little opener there.